Right, we're back, and here we are. I've given him another coat of the wash because it wasn't looking dark enough, but it's basically the same what's what I'm looking for, the same wash I gave beforehand, just the right flash shade and the green tone. Yep. So let's get on with highlighting, shall we? So first off, for highlighting, I like to use a nice pale colour, and as you know, the one I prefer to use when I can find it, here we are, found it on my paints in a box in front of me at the moment. So we have that one, which is Screaming Skull, and that's the one I usually use for for mixing to highlights. And just in case you're interested, I've got my ferrule back with the brush head on, and I've glued it in so it's not coming off again. So we'll add some of that onto our palette, give it a rinse, and we can get on with highlighting now. So first off, flesh tone. So for the first highlight on this, I think what we're going to do is just use the same colour again. Picked up the wrong brush. I'm just changing brushes, and we're just going to use the same colour as we started with, and we're just going to run this along the upper areas of Pete. So this is, as I say, the actual flesh tone we started off with, and absolutely nothing's been added to it. All that you're seeing now, the only difference you're seeing now is because we're going over the original paintwork, which has had a wash which has darkened it up, which is why you're actually seeing it seeing the different shades. Now I'm going to go all over with this, but not going into the wash area. So we are going to be going over all the mini, because this is the colour we want, his skin. The wash is just providing the shadow details. This is the actual skin tone that we want him, and I'm just trying to be as careful as I can with this, because I don't want to be what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to be going over any of the dark crevices that the wash has picked up. The idea being is that we start highlighting from this stage and this stage only. I'm just going to give my brush a bit of a rinse off and go back into the paint and continue. There we go. And so the idea is, as I say, just to give the actual colour of the skin. See, we have the three different shades. three different tones to the skin. We have the shadow, which is the deepest, darkest parts, which are covered by the wash, or which are created by the wash, not covered, created by the wash. And then we have the actual skin tone itself, which is what we're doing now. And then we have the highlights, and the highlights will come on, or will appear where light is hitting. So depending on what lighting you have and what lighting you wish to portray for the Mini, depends on where you will put the lighting. Now I usually go right from the top area, where the light is shining straight down, so you're looking at it like that. So that's how I like to do it. Some people will do it so the light is coming from the side or from just the front. I don't like that. It looks good, I'm not saying it doesn't, but it's not a technique I actually like, because it's too, for me, it's too restrictive. I prefer to have my models looking as though the light is coming directly from above, and that way it doesn't matter where and how they stand. And if you don't get it quite right on one Mini, to match up with the other is a bit difficult, if you get me drift. If you do it slightly out on one Mini, it knocks the whole thing out on the others. Whereas if you stick with the same same routine, like I go from directly above, so for each Mini that I do, every one of them, the light angle is from directly above, so I know exactly how it's going to look. If you get me drift, it's all going to match up nicely when all the Minis are completed. Whereas if I try doing from like a side angle, there is a chance that I could get it wrong, and then one of them, or more than one of them, or in fact different ones, could have a different highlight tone, as it were, and I don't want that. What I want is for them to look fairly samey, if you get the drift. So that is why I always go from above. There's no thought goes into it then. You can just get on with painting it and enjoy it. If you're doing something that's going to be set in like a space station or something like that, you know, you can, if you wanted to, have them all go in the same colour, or same tone. But I usually find that if that's the case, then if two Minis are facing each other, the light will be hitting at different places, and wouldn't look right. Yeah, so, but again, if you feel comfortable doing the lighting coming from one particular side, then go with it, because they're your Minis. I just prefer light coming from the top. I'm just having trouble with this brush. The bristle seems to have split somehow, and I'm getting some longer bristles and some shorter bristles, instead of having a uniform length. So I'm going to keep rinsing my brush out and taking the paint off, and then reapplying paint And that just means that I can keep control over how the bristles are working for me. So as I said, we're going to finish off this part. Oh yeah, and I'm just going to run the brush over his forehead here. Oh yeah. So that's that bit done. Next we're going to do his jeans, trousers, whatever you want to call it. And we go into these in exactly the same way. All the raised areas get a coating of the castellan green. So there we are. And it's not much of a difference with this one because the green tone or the green wash that I applied wasn't very strong at all, and I have actually applied a green wash to this as well. I forgot to tell you that beforehand. But it's had two. They both had two coats of wash, the flesh and the trousers, and unfortunately the trousers don't seem to have made any difference whatsoever. So I may have possibly used either too light a wash which is quite probable, quite probable, because I'm just trying to get used and to the different shades of things with my painter. So oh yeah, all I've done is just go over a little bit with the green, castellan green that I used for the trousers. Next we're going to use the what was it? The stone colour, dark stone, that we used for the boots. And again, just a little touch here and there, all around the boot, just to show that it is in fact this colour of boot and not coloured by the wash that I applied. So I'm just going to add some little touches here and there. You don't have to go mad with this step for the boots. Just make sure the toes are covered. And that's that one. Next, the colour we mixed for the knee pads. And just go over those. They've turned a little bit too green, I think, these. So we will be looking at changing the tone of this. But I think it turned green because I applied the green wash to these areas. And we'll just go over that edge and there we are. Plus, not forgetting his little wedding tackle protector. And now the colour that we mixed for the leather strap. Is it this one? No, it's not that one. That's the one used for the straps down here, wasn't it? In fact, I'm not going to use that. I'm going to mix something different for that one. This is the one we used for the main leather strap for the winch. Note I'm not going over the winch, and that's because it hasn't been washed, so I don't need to. And we are again just literally going over most of the detail. We're not covering it all up because we don't need to. I'm going on both sides of the leather strappage to show that light's hitting both sides. And we'll go along the bottom here. And that really is all we need to do for this. And we'll go in the middle, right at the top of the strap. There we go. And we will leave that how it is. Now we'll go on to the major highlighting. So we'll take some of the flesh colour and some of the paler colour, the Screaming Skull, mix that together, a little bit more of the flesh. We don't want it too pale, otherwise it will stand out like a sore thumb. But we don't want it too close to the original colour, so keep mixing. That looks about okay. And now we're just concentrating on the highlights on the skin. So we're looking only at doing this on the raised areas that are going to be seen from above. So we're not looking at doing anywhere underneath the arms or towards the back where he's bending, or where he's bending backwards. Where there's going to be a shadow, we can ignore those areas because they're not important. This is only with the bits that light is going to touch. So, other side of the Mohican. And do the shoulder muscles there. And the top of the muscles here. But watch where you're putting them. If you're doing light from above like I am, make sure that the paint goes from above. If you're looking at it like that, that's the part that you want to see the light or this paint going. You don't want to see it going anywhere that's you're not going to see. And after a while of doing this, you actually pick up and you can see, you can almost see where it's going to go to show where to paint it. You know, that this bit just takes a little bit of practice. Don't be afraid of doing it. It's not hard to do. As I say, it just takes practice, and once you've done this quite a bit, you know, it's something that will come second nature to you, and you can, as I say, virtually see where to put the paint. But when you're starting off, hold it like that, and where you can see there is where you want the paint going. That is, as I say, if you're going to be doing it as though the light's hitting from above. If you're doing it any other way, you would, if you're going to do it from that side, you would hold it like that, and everywhere we can see that way is where you'll put a highlight. So if you're doing it that side, you won't put a highlight there, you'll put the highlights there. So I just want to add a little bit of paint to his chin, to do his nose. I'll put some there as well, and that should do for that bit of highlighting. Oh yeah. Next, jeans, or trousers, pants, whatever you want, whatever you prefer to know them as. We've got some of this green on here, and then add in some of the Screaming Skull to lighten it. And we just, once again, it is where light is going to hit and nowhere else. You can add just a touch here and there where it's slightly shaded, just to increase the word I'm looking for, just to increase the contrast between the dark and light. But it's not necessary. If you don't want, if you don't feel you want to do that, then don't. Obviously, well, I'm just adding a little bit here and there. Because I can come back and add a lighter highlight, which will then negate the extra bits of highlighting that I've just done, because it won't stand out as much then. But as it stands, this is the only part I'm doing. I'm not going overboard with the highlighting for these minis. You may have noticed that before. The boot colour, I'm not using a lot of this because there's only small amounts to touch on. So I'm not going overboard, as I say. Make sure the toe is covered, and just touch here and there. It doesn't have to be perfect, so don't worry about it. Next, the colour we used for the what do we call it? The padding for the knees, etc. And all I'm going to do is just go over the top edge like so. And not going too overboard with these. There's not all that much to actually see on it. I'm just going to touch there, and that's it. Finally, well, not finally, but the next part is the mixture we used for the leather straps. Add a touch into that to change it There we are. And again. I'm going to go up the edges of the things of the straps there. And then at the top, peter it out. Here we'll just do a little line across the top and some little marks there, and the same there. We don't need a great deal. We're going to use that as like a light source that we can't really see, so like reflected light off something. And I'll just touch on these little straps here, and we'll also touch on these straps here. They look different enough that you'll not confuse them. Touch on this strap here. There we go. And now I'm not happy with the face. It looks a bit powdery, a bit chalky for some reason, so I'm going to go over and just wash that. No, it's not a wash, it's a highlight, so I'm going to go over under the eyes. And that. Again, under the eyes on this side. And there. Looks a little better. It was the forehead that looks a little bit gritty. Well, not looking too bad now. Quite pleased with the way it's looking now. Alright, that will do. And finally, it doesn't take much for doing any of this, to be honest. All it takes is just a little bit of time and effort. But what I'm looking for now is this colour, Stormholst Silver. And this is the one I'm going to be using for the winch and the harpoon. It's a dry brush, so I'm just going to get some paint on my brush, get rid of most of it, and then just carefully, because we don't want to be going over any of the other paint that we've put on. Here we're going to have to be very, very careful. And we'll just do that and do that. There we are. And that is all there is to it. That is Pete. Now the next step, because we haven't quite finished yet, the next step is going to be adding the black on the excuse me. The next bit is doing the rock, and for that we're going to be using Abaddon Black. It's not just the rock we're going to be doing with this, it's all the base, but we're going to start off with the rock first of all. So we'll just add a bit of that onto our palette, and slightly bigger brush because we've got a bigger area to cover. So we'll touch on that black And here we are. So the rock is just going to be, so I covered all that in the black. And the base to follow as well. Because I painted on the other ones, on the other bases, just plain black. I haven't decided yet as to what I'm going to do. The line of basing, whether to just leave them plain black or whether to actually put something on the bases. But at the moment on the bases for Vampire Hunts is just plain black. I actually don't mind them like that, to be brutally honest, for this particular game. Though, you never know, I may decide I want to do something with them. But at the moment that's all we have. So the rock is done and the base is done. Now why I'm bothering painting the edge of the base I don't know, because that usually has a blue or a red ring around it. But never mind. So we have the rock and the base done, and when the rock dries I'm just going to give it a bit of a once over, very pale dry brush with the dark stone, and then a paler colour on top of that. It's not going to take too long for that to dry. One thing I have forgotten to do, however, is her. The Mohican that we put on him. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a dry brush with Troll Slayer Orange. Just to brighten it up a little bit. So the brush that we just used to do the winch, we'll just make sure it's dry, get some paint on it, get some paint off it, and just now I'm trying my best not to get on the skin. There we are. And now the next job is still waiting for the rock to dry, which I thought it might have done by now, but it obviously hasn't. I actually think what I might do is add a little more of the what do you call it, the Screaming Skull into the mix for the pads, the knee pads, and add just a little more I don't know what's going on outside. Well, as per usual, people have to make a noise. We can't just have a quiet evening. Well, I'm going to get a smaller dry brush for this bit. I'm not quite much what I mean smaller dry brush. I'm going to take a little bit of the dark stone onto this dry brush, working into the bristles, and then not worked as well as I'd hoped. Yeah, I'll just let's see if we can just do it rather than there we are. And that's the first dry brush on the stone. The next dry brush will be, as I say, a much paler colour. Just for the sake of it, we want to use a very, very pale grey when I can find the colour I'm looking for. Would be nice. I've moved it. There we are, pallid witch flesh. It's like a chewing gum white, or a very pale, very, very, very pale grey. And I'll just get a little bit of that on the brush and just a light touch, and it's just a case of making sure we get it where light is going to hit and nowhere else. And that will do. That's I'm going to get it there as well. And that, as they say, is that. I hope you've enjoyed these 2 videos, or possibly 3 videos, you never know. I may have cut out the very first part, so just kept it as I'll split the video, I don't know yet. But here we are, this is Pete, and he's now finished. I hope you enjoyed these videos, as I said, but until next time, as always, take care, God bless, and bye for now.